to create a new and better future for us all. We succeed when we collaborate to collectively lift our communities and the individuals within each to achieve more. So grow with the best. We meet our entrepreneurs where they are and we lift them to where they envision themselves and their business to be. And so with that, I want to welcome Stephen, Liz, and Boris. You guys come take it away. Do your thing.
Thank you, Christy. That was a really great speech there. And it actually made me think of something that I want to kick us off with, right? It's a quote from Viktor Frankl. So I don't know if you hear his story, but he was a Jewish person in a concentration camp. And in that concentration camp, he found freedom. And the quote he has, it says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. That's freedom. In that space lies our freedom to choose. In those choices lie our fulfillment and joy in life. Right? Because we can't control what happens to us, but the one thing we can control is how we react to that. Now what's great about Lyft is we all made a choice. We've had plenty of stimulus and response in our life, and we made a choice to make a difference. I've known these two amazing individuals for about 15 years. I like to using the hair club for men joke, right? No puns intended here, but you hear the saying like, those who can do and those who can't teach, right? Sometimes people like to put that on consultants, and we like to say, you know what, we're not just consultants here to help with you, we're also part of it. Between the three of us, we have somewhere around 16 different entities. We work with a lot of construction people on real estate development, some hotels that are going up, consulting, investment advisories, tons of different things going on, right? But the reason we mention that is because we're here today, we really want to put some stuff in action. So I hope you guys are ready to keep being involved, keep going with this, because we want to talk a little bit about strategic planning. But then we're going to get specific, right? You hear the word strategic, you think, okay, great, this is going to be big, there's going to be 100 different things. We want to put it down to micro focus today so that all of you leave with one new goal, one new action, one new behavior, and one new way that you can make an impact in your company, right? So our four values are leadership, integrity, faithfulness, and tenacity. You'll see those reiterated out throughout of everything that we do. Today, what we want to talk about is really just explore this idea of what are we doing, the difference between working in our business and working on our business. We're going to try and figure out where are you spending your time today? Are you working in it? Are you working on it? We're going to talk about some of those objections, some of those responses that are going to come back and how we can change how we respond to those. And then we're going to take you through some activities about actually putting it into action. And we hope you will all do that with your business today, identify an area, put some thought behind it, and then we can have a new goal, we can have a new process that we can implement today. All right, so how many of you are familiar with the term working in your business or working on your business? Anybody heard of that? All right, so anyone think right now they're kind of stuck working in it? Right, like that solopreneur, that can be really rough, right? Your sales, your marketing, your everything else there, right? So when we look at that, we want to say, first of all, how many of you are directly supervising any construction sites, right? Any of your employees there? That's working on in your business, right? What about if we're handling day-to-day administrative tasks and those things, right? We've got some ideas of working in our business, and it's so hard because what happens when that customer comes in and they say, hey, we have this contract and I have an issue, right? Like now you have to jump in, right? But what we want to do is we want to try to evolve that, right? Like, are you doing direct recruiting? Are you doing the direct resolution of problems in your business? So often we think that's working on my business, but actually you're still getting stuck in it. So we want to get pulled outside of that, because what we want to do is we want to get to be working on it, where we're talking about supervising those strategic offsites, right? Like, are we streamlining operations? You know, what are we doing to develop this workforce, right? Like, why am I handling this complaint? I should have trained someone to handle complaints before, right? So I got some questions here. We all know there's 168 hours in a week. So what I want you to do is I want you to get out your pen and paper and I want you to write a number to each of these questions as it applies to you directly. So where are you spending your time? Now, employees, they say they get 40 hours a week. As entrepreneurs, we know we give 80 easily, right? But there's 168, so there's 7 days in there. So how much of your typical day or week are you handling customer inquiries, managing inventory, or overseeing daily financial transactions? If you need to put this to daily, like, shoot, that's one hour a day. Okay, that's 7 hours, right? We're entrepreneurs. We don't get that Monday through Friday. So think that down, write that number down. Next one. How often do you find yourself addressing urgent issues that arise unexpectedly with your business operations? I can tell you, we're consulting a construction company. I can tell you this is something that comes up a lot. Fires happen all the time, right? A permit didn't come through, a problem came up, we're digging in the ground, there's a pipe there, but there should have been a line. No one said there was a pipe there, right? How many hours are you dealing with that, right? Make sure you get that number down, okay? How much time are you spending directly supervising your employees, right? Or engaging in hands-on training and development, right? So again, how many hours on the day are we thinking? How many hours on the week are we thinking on that, right? How many hours do you spend doing direct sales, right? Calling those partners, getting that next contract, right? Customer service. Like, do you have to handle that fire when a contract has an issue on it and it's not going the way it needs to be? Again, how much time are you putting in that? Let's get those numbers down there, right? And then also, how often do you engage in the actual execution of your business's core service or products, right? So Las Vegas paving, right? I would hope you're not up there driving the machines nowadays, right? But again, that would be someone working in the business instead of on the business. All right, so think about that for a second. Everybody been writing down some numbers there? Tally that up. Who's going to be brave enough to share with me a number here? No judgment here. We just want to say this is a reflection, right? I can tell you that when I look on this, right now we don't have a lot of employees. We've got 3 to our company, right? So as much as we would love to be working on our business all the time, there's a lot of time that we were working in it. Before our interaction, I spent 15 minutes today conversating with the clients, trying to get that next contract signed, right? Because hey, we're going to do it until we have the employees to do it. All right, now let's look at the flip side of that, right? Because we also, whether you're not realize it or not, you're doing some activities to work on it. So let's look at this. How often do you set a time aside for strategic planning, including a long-term goal, right? So if you look at this last week, did you look at growth opportunities? Did you set aside some time and say, what are my contracts going to look like at the end of 2024? What am I doing to build for 2025 today? What's that new line item that I can generate revenue from that I thought of, but I just haven't been able to enact yet? How much time are you spending doing that this week? Get that number down. All right, how much time are you allocating to market research? So here's a freebie, guess what? You guys have all been here at least an hour or two, so that we can count that. We're working on our business today, right? This may not be market research, we're working ourselves, but what about for that analyzing competitors? How often are you guys going to conventions and talking to your competitors to see what they're doing, right? Are they doing it better than you? Are they doing it different than you? How can that change? All right. What about regularly scheduled time to review and update business goals, right? How many of you guys have ever created a business plan before? How many of you looked at that a second time? What about a third time? All right. What if I told you that's supposed to be a living, breathing document, right? That should be a part of your company, which means you really just set it up not to work on your business, to work in your business because you did it because you needed something. Right? Like maybe you came to us because you needed to get financing or an investor, so they wanted to see your plan for business, right? That's usually the number one reason they create it, but why? How does it impact it, right? So you may have been working in your business instead of on your business during that exact activity. How often do you engage in networking or seeking partnerships or exploring collaborative opportunities? So again, we got 168 hours in a week. How many hours a week do you go out and actually network, go find that next person, or even just do the additional research that's needed to find the other people there, right? We were talking about task versus people. And what's really cool is when we did that dot perspective, you'll notice we don't have different colors. And so we were looking at each other across the room, giving smiles, like Morris like, oh, controlling director, like pointing at me with their eyes, I can feel it, right? But it's amazing because when you look at that dynamic now, the 3 of us cover 75% of that. And so it gives us a lot of flexibility where we're naturally saying, hey, are we working on it? Are we working in it? What are we doing with the people versus this, right? Like, I love that. I always say that she's the most people person I know, and it's so powerful because I'm the most task-oriented person I know, right? And so to have that perspective is important, but without having someone to pull it out, how am I going to do that? So how much time in the week are you spending on that one? And then lastly, are you dedicating time to thinking about innovation? When's the last time you thought of a way to do your process better? When's the last time you actually looked at a process that's working today and said, could this be better? Right? I know there's the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but we need to get rid of that. If you're not innovating and you're not evolving, then you're gonna fall behind. And especially in construction, we've seen that a lot, right? Like when steel prices went up, man, everybody went on, and now all of a sudden we've got 4 different alternatives for that, of different materials that people are putting inside steel now to make it cheaper. Or putting inside concrete, right, to make it cheaper. But the idea is, how much time? All right, so hopefully you've written a few numbers for the first set, you've written a few numbers for the second set, got calculators on our phone if we're not good at math, but we can add them up. So by a show of hands, whose number for working in the business is higher than working on the business? All right, what about the flip? Anybody on the flip side where they are saying, hey, you know what, I'm actually working more on the business instead of in the business? Brave soul, congratulations. Great job, sir. All right, So before we go over that, what I want to do is I want to hand it over here to Morris because he's really great at this harmonizing thing, and I've learned from him for a couple of decades here. And so he's really helped me to identify how can we harmonize the two, because you can't stop a customer complaint, right? You can't stop so many things. Morris, why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So it's kind of perfect and fitting that I'm a blue, right? Because it's more about harmony, relationships, connections, right? So the one thing that I look to focus on anytime I speak to a group is how well can we connect the information to the audience, right? How well can we make certain we help business owners, entrepreneurs, clients be the best versions of themselves? And so one thing that I notice when I look at when you want to do something different in your business, you have to have a growth mindset. Your mindset has to change. Whether you're working in or on your business, that growth mindset is critical. The growth mindset helps you make a deliberate choice of where you're going to go. That growth mindset helps you create sustainable growth. That growth mindset helps you create innovative approaches. And so when you look at the last 20 years, so from 2010 to 2020, I'm a big McKinsey fan. So McKinsey does a lot of analytical studies out there in the world. And they shared an interesting percentage or statistic that only 10% of the companies over the last 20 years have seen a consistent growth of more than 10% of their revenues each year. So 1 out of 8 companies. And so do me a quick favor. Everyone stand up for me real quick. Let's get our bloods going. And I just want to start from the left. We're going to go to the right. I'm going to have everyone count from 1 to 8. But my 1 through 7 sit, my 8s stand. Okay? So let's start here.
1,
Sit.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1.
Nope. 8 stand. Thank you.
2, 4, 5, 6,
7.
1, 2,
Let's go here.
3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4,
5,
6, 7, 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10.
Ah, you're analytical. You can't do that. We're accurate.
5, 6, 7,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7, 8, 1.
Here we go. So 8s, look around the room and look at our 8s that are standing. Again, the people that are standing represent the 1 out of 8 companies in the last 20 years that have successfully generated 10% or more in revenue each year. And this is all because, okay, 8, you can sit down now. And this is all because, if you think about it, these companies that we're talking about represented a growth mindset. But that did not happen by accident. It all came down to those companies making a deliberate choice every day to say, we are going to be innovative, we're going to be thoughtful, we're going to be consistent, and we're going to be committed to change. We're going to be committed to this art of change. And so they figured out, McKinsey did, they figured out there were 5 strategies that all these companies did and performed. And all they had to do was be good at 3 out of 5. Be committed to see 2.9 times higher growth in their business. That's what's helped them create a change. And these aren't companies that benefited during good economic times. These are companies, believe it or not, that were successful being launched during down times. We're talking about Burger King, your Hyatt, your Airbnbs. These companies weren't started in the best of times. They were started in recessions. They were started, some were figuring out things during COVID. Target was another one of these companies. Target, if you didn't recognize, through every single economic downturn, has made a deliberate change in their industry. Always changing. When times were there, when in 2000, when we went through our first recession, they introduced grocery stores. In 2000, and then when COVID hit, They introduced, how many of you guys use the Target delivery service? That was my favorite. So they've always figured out how to pivot because they've always maintained a growth mindset everywhere they go. So here are the 5 steps that McKinsey studies put out and said, okay, here's the things that we could actually do deliberately to keep this growth mindset. So the first one is you got to have a routine strategic reviews. Steven said it earlier. You have a business plan. How often do you go to that business plan? That business plan is your strategic routine. Now, as you're reviewing your strategic routines, there's some things that might need to change, that might need to pivot. But you should be assessing what you previously have created, and then now focus on what are those deliberate things we need to do differently to grow and be better. Then you also want to have strategic planning in daily operations. So every day your business has a systematic approach in how you either obtain customers, grow customers, deepen relationship with customers, find new business, find new contracts, the whole 9 yards. What are those operations? And how are you reviewing those operations every day? How are you pulling in outside resources to help you improve those operations? How are you hiring consultants and people to come in and teach your teams new strategies and new ways of approaching? Learning and adaptation. Every day you should be learning and growing and adapting. Learning from each other. Again, making the sacrifice today to be in this room together, it's an opportunity to learn and adapt and find new ways to grow your business. Delegation and empowerment. You have a great team, great resources, people you hire, people you bring in, people you want to make better, people who look up to you. How are you delegating, teaching them and growing them, and then empowering them to provide feedback, to share ideas, to teach you new ways? I just opened an esports training facility for youths. And I gotta tell you, these 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, my God, their brains are much more faster than mine. Have you ever seen Fortnite? Yeah, I can't even watch the game because it gives me epilepsy. It's crazy. But second, these kids are problem solving at a faster rate than I could ever process. So now I'm going to these young kids and learning from them on how to grow the business because they're seeing things faster than I can see them. And so you have to stretch your boundaries. Find a different color. Find different people to pull into your circle because they're going to be the ones that help you see your business differently. And then lastly, you want to manage and prioritize. You can't solve everything. You can't be all things to all people. You can't make everything a priority. Take it one step at a time. And that's how you grow your business. And then lastly, there's some strategic plans that you want to put in place, and Elizabeth's going to dig into these a little bit more. You have your SWOT analysis, your SMART goals, there's a business model canvas, and there's key performance indicators. But the piece that I want to leave you with is that using these tools are absolutely critical. This is not using these tools are absolutely critical. So you almost want to look at these planning tools that Elizabeth's going to go through with you in a little bit, is almost think of it as your Waze map. How many of you are trying to get through Las Vegas right now? And thank you for your email this morning reminding us to pull up our Waze app, because God help you if you try to figure out navigating through the city on your own right now. Like, how many of you been on Flamingo or Tropicana? I went on Flamingo last night and they closed Flamingo. Who closes Flamingo? And Trop. Who in this room did that? No, it's not. But at the same time, think about now navigating through this city. I mean, how many of us depend on our Waze and our Google Maps right now? I live by that. Because not only does it help me know where I'm going to go, it'll tell me what time I'm going to get there, the best route to take, how to detour. Well, guess what? That's your planning tools. If we're not going to drive from A to B to get someplace on time without our Waze app, how are we going to plan and grow our business without having and utilizing tools to help us get there? So you think about your SWOT analysis. I almost look at that as the actual GPS. It actually tells you it's that tool that kind of helps you decide on whether I'm going to use Waze or Google Maps. You can choose whichever one. It's that tool. Then you use your SMART goal. Your SMART goal is almost that location finder. It tells you exactly where to make a left turn, where to make a right turn. And then you have your business canvas model. It's your GPS system that helps guide you when you're there. It's that voice that activates. Do you know now that when you use your Waze app, my son has figured out how to record his voice on my Waze. So now he reminds Dad how fast he's going. And don't make a wrong turn here. But it's great because I get to hear my son's voice every day who's in college, but at the same time, he irritates me. But it's a great tool because, again, it's that guiding voice that reminds me when to turn, how fast to turn, when not to turn. Don't miss your turn. You need that guide every single day. And then lastly, your key performance indicator. That's how you know you've gotten there. And if I didn't get there on time, it's because that I ignored the directional map. So I would say to each of you, as you go through and you hear these tools that are available to you, it's not going to do you any good keeping them on the sideline. You have to make the choice, just like how 1 out of 8 companies made those choices, just like how Target, Airbnbs made those choices, and how we made a choice here to get here on time this morning to use Waze. If you make the choice to use the tool, you could also be the 1 out of 8 companies, or maybe in this room, we could be 8 out of 8 companies who are going to experience the 2.9 times growth that we should be experiencing in this amazing city, in this amazing state, because we're only growing as a state. And there's too many opportunities out there for us to miss out on that. But it's how we execute and use these tools. So I'll have Liz go through that.
All right. So whether it's working in or on or harmonizing or whatever the case may be, how do you do this and how do you do it effectively? So Morris talked to you guys a little bit about your toolkit. And so how many of you are planners in the room? All right, so my husband, I'm in his backpack this morning putting in a protein bar so he remembers to eat today, and I pull out this multi-tool. How many of you have a multi-tool? He has one of these multi-tools in every single bag. He takes it to work, he has it at home, it's in a truck. Anywhere he goes, he has this multi-tool kit. But it allows him to be versatile, and he can fix anything with it. So we went to Florida over the Christmas break, and one of the shelves in the Airbnb that we had was broken. And so he got out his multi-tool to fix it. So think of these tools that we're going to go through as your toolkit and your multi-tool to help you, whether you're working in or on, or finding the balance between what to do for your business. So the first one we're going to go through is the SWOT analysis. And so this one really helps you identify your internal and your external factors. So your strengths and your weaknesses are internal, and your opportunities and your threats identify your external factors. So Morris talked a little bit about having a growth mindset and being one of those 8 companies that had over 10% growth. Well, to do this, you have to understand what opportunities and threats are out there in the marketplace. And so where you may not be the person in your business or in your company that goes out and forms those relationships and talks to everyone, you have someone. So I'm a yellow and I'm a people person. So leverage the folks that are on your team to use that part of the model to get the information that you need. Nobody said you have to do it all yourself. The other part of it is your strengths and weaknesses. Maybe you're one of those people that spend the majority of your time working in your business, and so you might be the best person to do this. Again, leverage those strengths in yourself and in your people to get what you need. So the next one we're going to talk about is SMART goals. Everybody in this room, I guarantee, has heard this at one point or another, right? So it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. This model is really to help you achieve the goal you want. So a lot of times we say we're going to do A, B, and C, and maybe we do A, sometimes we do B, but we don't ever know whether or not we did it the way we wanted to. So give yourself and give your teams an opportunity to achieve those goals and get those wins. So if you want to keep people motivated and happy and ongoing, then we need to make sure that we're giving them the right information so that way they know when they got that win. The next one that we're going to talk about is the business model canvas. And so this one might be kind of new. How many in the room have heard about this?
So I even had to look this one up because Stephen threw it at me. But here's the thing about this one. It helps you map out the factor business. And that's something that we all need. Those are things that should be in that business plan Stephen was talking about that we should be going back and reviewing, not once, twice, but 3 times or every 6 months. And it helps you identify the requirements that are going to be asked of you in order to deliver whatever service or product you have. So think about that. When you take the time to go through each one of the steps on this model, how impactful is that going to be? How is that going to help you achieve that growth you're looking for or get to that next level within your company? So really, really important. This is things like, what's your value proposition? What's going to differentiate you in the marketplace? Who are the key people that you need to do this? Who are your partners? What is it going to cost? Sometimes the best ideas aren't really gonna, sometimes the best ideas aren't something you can do right now. It might be something you have to table until you have the funds to do it. But knowing that before you get into it is really important, right? What resources are you gonna need? Whether it's people, whether it's anything else. What channels? So think about the channels. Now I know we're all construction in here, but there's many different ways to get done what you need. So who are the people that are gonna be helping the channels that you're gonna reach them through? Whether maybe sometimes people respond to email. Maybe it's putting a blast out on social media. Maybe it's picking up the phone. So understanding what channel it's gonna take to communicate and get to where you need to be is really, really important. And lastly, we're gonna talk about KPIs. So KPIs are important so you know that you achieved what you needed to and that you have a measurement. So key performance indicators allow you to understand and define your success as a company. So you need to have an objective. You need to define what that objective looks like. Develop questions that are gonna help you collect data. And then define what the measurement is. So how many of you have ever had a job where you didn't know what was expected of you or how you were gonna get there? It's all right, I'll raise my hand. I had one of those. When you have defined KPIs for your business, you know when you achieved your goals. And you know that you can articulate that to anybody that's asking questions about your business. That allows you to help tell your story no matter who you're talking to. So this is important for your company. It's also important for your people because they need to also know what success looks like. So just a brief overview of some tools that you're going to have in your multi-toolkit, but now we're going to take you through an exercise on how you can start to think about how you can use these. Now, you may be somebody that's task-oriented like Stephen. You might be somebody that's harmony like Morris. Your natural tendency on how you're going to use these tools is going to play out in that, but I would remind you all that again, it's not about doing it all yourself. Sometimes that delegation is the key to the success in these. All right?
Yeah, so we know many people learn in different ways. So some of you just glean that information like, oh, I already got it. I can run with it, right? Many people are not like that. So what we want to do is we want to take you all through an activity today to put it all into action, okay? So we're going to start with a SWOT analysis, and we're going to do some quick brainstorming. Liz and Morris are going to be walking around the room if anybody needs help out with this. But we're going to start by brainstorming just really quickly for like 2 minutes. So in strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, you're not judging anything of it. You're simply just saying, hey, what are strengths? What are weaknesses? What are opportunities? You literally write it down and go past it. You don't think about it after it's out there, right? That's true brainstorming. So I want everybody to get a piece of paper out right now. And we're going to start over here on our SWOT. And so you're going to start by writing, you can make a little 4 squares the easiest. So line up the middle, line on the top left is strength, top right is weakness, bottom left opportunity, bottom right threat, right? And so what I want you to do is think about your business. And right now, we're going to start on strength. So ready? What are some strengths of your business? 1 word, 2 words. Write it, next thing. Write it, next thing. You're not putting any additional thought into it. What are the strengths of your business? Right? And again, it's just different areas, right? So for Lyft, I think some of the strengths are is we have a ton of expertise in financial services, for instance, right? We got like 90 years between the 3 of us in that area, right? What are some other strengths there, okay? So keep writing a couple more strengths. Again, what am I good at? What is my team good at? What is my company good at? Where do we excel? These are our strengths. All right, now we're not putting any more thought in that. We're not analyzing them. We're moving right past it. We're jumping right to our weaknesses next. So in my company, what are our weaknesses? Where do we not excel? Where are we losing clients? Where are we losing money? Where are we losing time? What are the things that we do not do well, right? We talk about individual people, right? Like emotional intelligence. The reason I love working with these people is Morris had to help me learn emotional intelligence back about 15 years ago when I was his direct report. So that is not one of my strengths. Weakness for me personally, I'm gonna put emotional intelligence, something I work on, right? But where's your business weak? Where are those weaknesses? Where do we need to improve ourselves, right? So again, we write it down, move to the next one. Don't put additional thought on it. We're just brainstorming as many different ideas as we can get out on the paper as quick as possible. All right, now let's move to that bottom left corner. We're talking about opportunities. What are the opportunities that my organization has to grow? What are the opportunities that I personally have to grow right now? What are the opportunities that my team has to grow right now? Where are the opportunities in the environment that I operate in as a business? What are the opportunities in the communities that I'm creating as a business? Are you creating communities as a business? What opportunities do we have? Things that we see as a great chance for growth for us. I think it's great when we talk about growth, right? Growth is the oxygen of your business. If your business is not growing, then your business is not breathing. All right, now let's go to that bottom right corner. What are the threats? What threats do I pose to my company? If I was the one handling all the people interactions for Lyft, man, that would be kind of rough. I get to stay behind the scenes a lot with data and numbers because I'm good at that stuff, right? But what are the threats to your organization? What are the threats that some of your employees represent to your company? What are those internal threats that are happening? What are those external threats? What does this environment represent for my company right now today? I'm sure you guys have seen it. Contracts aren't rolling in as fast as they were in 2023. Builders are slowing down. Less roads are needed if there's less homes going up, right? Like we've seen that in some of the clients we're talking to. Are you seeing that? If you're not, maybe that's not a threat, right? What are the external threats when it comes to legislation, regulations, permitting, all that fun stuff that comes along with every contract we got to sign, right? What are all those things? All right, so hopefully everybody's got 3, 4, 5 things that are listed in each of those, right? What I really want you to do is we just want to look at this. So the activity we're doing here, so we complete that quick SWOT analysis, right? Now what we want to do is we want to find one key target area from that brainstorming. So we're not going to tackle everything all at once. We're going to tackle one thing. So of everything you wrote down there, whether it's one of the strengths, one of the weaknesses, one of the opportunities, or one of the threats, I want you to take that one area, and now I want you to identify 5 different goals that you can create in that area. And we go quick with those goals, but we have to make sure that they're smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time. Or relevant, excuse me, right? So think of that. What are 5 goals I can work on in just that area? When you identify those goals, then just take a quick look at it. Does it fit the SMART model? Is it specific? Is it time-bound? Increasing productivity by 10% of my employees is not a SMART goal. Increasing productivity on a per employee basis by 10% on a month-over-month basis in the next 90 days is a SMART goal. Do you understand the difference? It's got to be specific, put timing to it, right? As we identify those SMART goals, we're going to pick one. So when you think about those different goals that you've just listed for your business, which one do you feel can have the biggest impact? Which one do you feel matches your intentions the most? Which one do you feel aligns more directly with your company? Sometimes the goal you pick may not be your personal favorite one, but it may be the one that'd be like, hey, if we do that, I see a quick turn in revenues, and then I can go do that activity that Liz just mentioned, but we don't have the money for it yet, right? I know Lyft being a young organization, that's something we talk about all the time. We have wild dreams. Like, for those of you who don't know, Lyft was actually founded on a napkin about 15 years ago, right? It stands for looking inward for tomorrow, because we believe we all have success planted inside of us, but you need to look inside to get that out. But depending on what's happened to you in life, where you were born, what you look like, how much money your parents made, we've all been separated, right? And there's success there, so sometimes you just need to dig it out and find it, and that's what we do. So some of our wildly important goals is, we're sitting in a building right now that one day Lyft would like to create. And we would like to bring all these resources together and do stuff like what Nevada Partners is doing, right? That's what we created. But we realized we have to generate revenue in order to get there. We have these other goals that have to be achieved so that we can achieve that goal, right? So you put them in order. All right, everybody identify that one SMART goal that they want to work on. Now what we're gonna do is just in that goal, so not your whole business, that goal particularly, right? So if you're saying, hey, my goal is we have so much work, I need to increase my head count by 20% in the next 30 days, and I need to ensure that the right type of people and right efficiency, right? So then you go with that particular goal and say, who are the key partners that I would need? Well, if you're hiring people, you need to know about employee NV, right? They can reimburse up to 90% of employee wages for on-the-job training and give you free money for your company, right? So that would be a key partner. What are the key activities I need to achieve that particular goal for my business? Who are the other businesses I can partner with? We started partnering with the Paragon Group a couple of years ago, right? We love to teach, we love to educate, so we want to be partnering with them. We partner with Nevada Partners and other organizations, right? Who are the partners you need to achieve that one SMART goal today? What's your value proposition, right? That value proposition looks different depending on whether you're talking about an internal goal, an external goal, a people goal, a task goal, a revenue goal. Those can all be different things, but what's the value for that? What's in it for them? That's what I always like to think about. Like, everybody knows what's in it for you as an organization. You make money, you make profit, things like that. What's in it for them, right? What's in it for everybody? Figure out what do the customers look like in that case. If we're talking about internal stuff, maybe your customers are actually your employees, right? The word customer doesn't just mean the customer, it means who's benefiting from this, right? Then we got to figure out what's it going to cost. So if you're looking at a goal here, what's a realistic number that's going to cost? Now, you might not be able to get that number immediately, but you can start thinking about that, right? Start thinking about the ideas of it. And then are there different segments? So in my one particular goal that I'm working on today, what are the segments of my company? And what are the segments of the community that I need to be operating in? The channels, I think, is crucial. Not only channels of how am I going to distribute this internally, but externally, right? There's internal channels of communication, there's internal channels of operation, there's external channels of communication and operation as well. So what are those channels that we're tying into it as well? And then lastly, we have to talk about what is the revenue stream for this? And keep in mind that revenue stream is really easy to quantify when you got a widget and you're selling a widget, right? What does my revenue stream look like when I'm hiring a more productive employee? What if my goal was employee and I have to get them out? How do I quantify the revenue stream of that? It's there, it's not easy, it can help you, but it's gonna take some time, right? Okay, so hopefully we've identified through that, realized we're kind of rushing through because we are on the front side of your lunch and we wanna make sure that we don't interrupt you from your lunch. But so as we've done that, now we wanna take a look here and say, okay, what are some of the key performance indicators, right? So I like to say this is the road signs. Right, like when you're driving to any city, let's say you're headed north and you probably see a road sign that says Pahrump, 9 miles. You're like, oh, I'm almost at my destination. Your KPIs tell you you're arriving at the right spot. So based on the goal you've created, what are some things that you would see that would tell you, yes, I'm headed in the right direction, right? It's easy if you're talking about increasing revenues because then you can review it on a daily sales basis, right? You can, you know, if you're selling widgets, for instance, you can review that on how many I'm selling every day, how many I'm selling every hour. If you're doing it on larger contracts, then you can talk about How long is it taking me to find a new customer and turn them into a new contract? And how do I reduce that time, right? What does my channel of communication need to look like with these exterior clients in order to get them to make decisions faster? How do I demonstrate my value better so I don't spend half of the sales process just showing them my value? I already know what I'm worth. And let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, that's probably the most frustrating thing. When you know your value, you're talking to someone else and you're spending all your time demonstrating your value to them instead of actually just giving them the problem or the solution to the problem they need, right? So how do you evaluate that? That's what those KPIs are there. So when you think of that, you think of what are some of those road signs along the way that will tell me I'm headed towards that SMART goal, right? Now we know we've raced through that really quick. When we do this with a team and a corporate team, we would spend sometimes hours on each step, right? And then you take this apart to all the parts of your company. But what we want you guys to have is to have a tool that you can use to be able to do that. And this is a simple framework that you can use in your organization, right? I really hope that you guys all enjoyed it. I think we're right at our time, right? So I just want to thank you guys. We love it for your participation. We would love if you find us during lunch through the rest of this and tell us, hey, what was it? Or if you struggled with this activity, tell us why, right? Let's be honest with it, be open with that. But if you guys have any questions, you're interested in connecting with us, our organization is called Lift. Our website is LiftNU. So, Lift, as you can imagine, was taken. And we were very frustrated. And we would have to pay someone thousands of dollars a year just to get that. But what we realize is we're not here to lift you, we're to help you lift yourself. And so when you're looking inward for tomorrow, we create the lift in you. So that's how you can easily find our website. That's us on all social media. We'd love to connect with any of you. If you have questions, you have concerns, or you want to understand how a consultant can really help you to take your business to the next level, that's what we're here for. And if it's not your business you're ready to move, then we're ready to work with you personally as well, because we believe that you all are the change that's going to happen in your businesses. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you guys so much. Are you guys enjoying this? Awesome? Okay. But we're going to feed you, because if you come to anything of mine, there will always be food. So we're going to make sure, so we're going to do a quick lunch. This is where we want you just to enjoy the company at your table, enjoy the food, talk to the people. What is it you're supposed to do? Talks to who, Spencer? Oh, just everybody. Obviously, everybody. But make sure you're, you're blue to your red to your, I was taking pictures and not really paying attention.
But, yes, they're most opposite. So blue, I want you to talk green, red, yellow.
Okay, so if there's anyone at your table that has the stickers on, the NDOT girls, they were